I've got to ask the question every Dolphins fan is screaming right now. How is that even possible? Because this isn't frustration anymore, it's disbelief. I've been thinking about the Dolphins situation since last night, and honestly, I woke up even more upset this morning. The more you think about it, the worse it gets. How can two people lead a team to this level of dysfunction, this lack of success, and still keep their jobs? Before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on everything happening in the NFL. Now, back to it. Because this situation in Miami is nothing short of embarrassing. If you were a car salesman performing this poorly, not closing deals, causing chaos in the showroom, you'd be out the door. Yet here we are, watching the same leadership mistakes repeat themselves. So I've got one question for Dolphins owner Stephen Ross. Do you even care? Because every day that passes with McDaniel and Grier still in charge sends one loud message to Dolphins Nation. You don't. Every single day these two hold their positions is another slap in the face to loyal Miami fans who've waited decades to see this team become respectable again. If Miami truly wants to reset, it starts with one move: fire them both. Will it fix everything this season? No, but it's the first step, the one that has to be taken, to finally get this franchise back on the right path. Let's keep it real. Yesterday's loss falls squarely on coaching. Now, don't get me wrong. Not every mistake this season has been about coaching. There have been flashes, moments where Mike McDaniel's play calling looked sharp, creative, even promising. But when you zoom out and look at the full picture, it's clear things are falling apart. Just take a look at the third quarter from yesterday's game. That's all you need to know. The Dolphins had a strong first half. Despite a missed field goal and an early interception, both of which gave the Chargers great field position, Miami still managed to lead 13-9 at halftime. The defense stepped up, keeping the Chargers out of the end zone, while the offense did enough to take control early. But then came the second half, and it was an absolute disaster. In the third quarter alone, Miami's offense produced negative 11 yards, got outgained 155-1, outscored 14-0, and held the ball for just 3 minutes. 6 plays, negative yards, total collapse. That's not just a bad stretch. That's a failure in preparation, in adjustments, and in leadership. Coming out that flat, that lifeless, after halftime, that's all on coaching. And until this team fixes what's happening on the sidelines, no amount of talent on the field will save them. You could see it clear as day. Jim Harbaugh simply outcoached Mike McDaniel after halftime. Every adjustment Harbaugh made completely changed the game. And while some people say the whole halftime adjustments thing is overblown, that coaches don't really have deep meetings or fiery speeches, something's obviously wrong in Miami. Because this isn't a one-time thing. It's a pattern. Week after week, the Dolphins come out flat in the second half. Going into Week 6, they were the second worst team in the NFL in second half point differential, sitting at -31. The only team worse, the Tennessee Titans. And after yesterday's collapse, you can tack on another 6 points to that number. Up by 4 at halftime, and still managing to lose? That's not bad luck, that's bad coaching. It's the same issues repeating: lack of preparation, lack of focus, and a total lack of attention to detail. And all of that starts at the top. Now, here's the frustrating part. Mike McDaniel isn't terrible at everything. In fact, as a play caller, he's actually really good. He designs creative, aggressive plays that keep defenses guessing. He works closely with offensive minds like Frank Smith, Darrell Bevell, and Bobby Slowick to build a smart, efficient attack. And the numbers back that up. Take away the Week 1 flop against the Colts, and look at what this offense has done since. 27 points in Week 2 against the Patriots, 21 against the Bills, 27 against the Jets, 24 against the Panthers, and 27 more against the Chargers. That's 5 straight games of putting up 21 or more points. The offense isn't the issue. It's what happens when the second half begins. That's where everything falls apart. You look at the numbers, 3 of those games with 27 points or more, and it's clear the offense isn't the problem. The Dolphins are producing despite having one of the most unreliable offensive lines in football. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Mike McDaniel isn't qualified to be an NFL head coach. As an offensive coordinator, he's brilliant. His creativity and energy are undeniable. A dozen teams would line up tomorrow to hire him as their OC. But leading an entire organization, managing a locker room, setting the tone, making the tough calls, that's where it all falls apart. And that brings us to the other half of the problem, Chris Grier. I can understand the frustration with McDaniel, but Grier's situation is beyond comprehension. How is he still here? Chris Grier has been the Miami Dolphins general manager since January 4, 2016. Since then, Miami has been the definition of mediocrity, a 76-78 record in the regular season, 0-3 in the playoffs, and not a single postseason win during his tenure. That's 9 seasons of average football, 9 years without progress, without direction, without results. Under Grier's watch, the Dolphins have gone through 3 head coaches, Adam Gase, Brian Flores, and now Mike McDaniel. And yet, somehow, he remains untouched, as if accountability doesn't apply to him. I went back and looked at every single draft class from 2016 through 2024, removing 2025 since it's too early to judge, and the numbers speak for themselves. Out of 62 total draft picks, only 21 could reasonably be called successful. That's barely 1/3 of all selections. For a team that's been rebuilding for nearly a decade, that's unacceptable. At some point, the excuses have to stop. The results are right there in black and white, and they're not good enough. So let's break it down. That's roughly a 33% success rate in the draft, a .500 record, no playoff wins, 3 different head coaches, and barely 1/3 of your draft picks actually panning out. At what point does someone say, enough is enough? Because honestly, how is Chris Grier still in charge? Most general managers in the NFL don't even get the chance to hire 3 head coaches. Usually, after 2 failed tenures, ownership moves on. Yet somehow, Grier remains untouched, unaccountable, and still calling the shots. Think about it. He's been in this role for nearly a decade, with 0 playoff wins and an average record, and he's still trusted to rebuild the future. There's no other job in the world where you can deliver so little success and still keep your position, maybe even get rewarded for it. It's unreal. It's almost a dream scenario, except for the fans who have to live this nightmare every season. The frustration, the wasted potential, the false hope, it all starts at the top. Until real accountability hits the front office, nothing changes. Not the record, not the culture, not the results. And that's why Miami keeps finding itself in the same place every single year. Now, we've talked about the head coach and the general manager, but it's time to shift to the quarterback, because Tua Tagovailoa can't escape the spotlight either. After the game, Tua, the captain of this team, the QB1, the highest paid player in the locker room, called out his teammates publicly. He said there are guys showing up late to player-only meetings, and others not showing up at all. That's a major statement, and it set off a storm across the NFL world. Now, let's be fair here. Tua did take some accountability for his own play. He admitted that turning the ball over was unacceptable, that he didn't perform well, and that the Dolphins won't win when he plays like that. So yes, he owned part of it. But here's the problem. When your franchise quarterback calls out his teammates in front of the media, that's a serious red flag. That kind of message should stay inside the locker room. You don't air that kind of frustration publicly, especially when your own performance is part of the issue. What Tua did sent shockwaves. The headlines exploded. The media jumped on it. And now, the entire football world is seeing the truth about this team. The Miami Dolphins have become a dysfunctional, unstable franchise from the top down. Even former players, analysts, and Hall of Famers have started weighing in, all saying the same thing. Something's broken in Miami. And the sad part? They're not wrong. After Tua's comments, the reaction across the NFL world was explosive. Major voices like Ian Rappaport, Kurt Warner, and Jeff Darlington all came out against him, calling it unprofessional, unnecessary, and flat-out Bush League. They said this isn't how a leader handles adversity. Even Patrick Mahomes, the face of the NFL right now, wouldn't do something like this. And if anyone in the league could get away with calling out their teammates publicly, it'd be him, because he's earned that respect through winning and leadership. Kurt Warner put it best. Being a pro means you have a standard that you hold yourself accountable to. To blame someone else for your lack of professionalism is a cop-out. And Emmanuel Acho didn't hold back either. He said, "They're not showing up because they don't respect you, Tua. They're not showing up because they don't believe in you." And honestly, he might be right. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one quote. It's about a team that's losing trust in its leadership from the front office to the field. Everything Tua said might actually be true. Maybe some players are showing up late or not showing up at all. But when you take that frustration to the media, instead of handling it inside the locker room, you create division. You don't just lose games, you lose your team. And if this fracture hasn't already broken the Dolphins' locker room, it's about to. Because moments like this don't heal overnight. They leave scars that last all season long. And the fact that it's coming from your quarterback, your highest paid player, your captain, just makes the dysfunction even worse. Let's be real here. Tua looks like he's living inside an insecure bubble, convinced he's untouchable, convinced he's earned the right to talk down to others. But here's the truth. He hasn't. He's talented, sure. He's shown flashes. But he hasn't done anything yet that gives him the right to call out teammates publicly like that. Since he got paid, it feels like we've seen a completely different person. Not the humble, hungry young player we once respected, but someone who's grown arrogant, defensive, and out of touch with the reality of his own locker room. And that's the real problem. When your head coach, quarterback, and front office all lack accountability, the whole team collapses. The NFL is a head coach and quarterback league. Always has been, always will be. If you've got both right, you win games. If you don't stand a chance. Right now, the Miami Dolphins don't have either. They've got a quarterback who's lost his leadership edge, a head coach who's lost control of the locker room, and a general manager who built a roster that's falling apart under pressure. That's why this franchise is where it is, spiraling. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. We'll be back later with more on the Miami Dolphins situation, because I'm frustrated, I'm done sugarcoating, and I'm always going to keep it real with you guys. That's why you're here, because we tell it straight.